Greetings, friends. The sun is acting just as it will on my solar return in October, or as it last did. Thing is, here in the Bay Area of California, the winter sun tends to be much more visible than the autumn sun, where we actually get some rain or at least clouds. I remember on my solar return last year, I wasn't really able to work the sun that much. And actually the days around were just cloudy and gray. So it's a real gift to be able to connect with the sun today, because my birthday is October 24th. Typically I experience a solar return on the 23rd of October. My sun at the time of my birth, it was at 0 degrees and 56 arc minutes of Scorpio. So one Scorpio, right? Which is 2 months before December solstice. Agreed? We go all of Scorpio and all of Sagittarius, and then it's the solstice. Well, what happens after solstice? All of Capricorn and all of Aquarius, Pisces. Yeah. So the first degree of Scorpio, which is actually 59 degrees before the solstice point, the Capricorn solstice point, is what we call Antiscia, 29 Aquarius, which is 59 degrees after the Capricorn solstice point. Yeah. Antiscia, I'm told, is a better pronunciation because skia is Greek for shadow. Now, typically astrologers are working with Antiscion in regard to like Jungian shadow work. And that's great. That's cool. But I feel like many are missing like the literal transmission of what that word is teaching us about Antiscia or Antiscia, which is the shadow, right? Like, let's turn this thing around. Turn the beat over that, right? Like my shadow. So when the sun is in this same place on my birthday, my shadow is going to be exactly this long. There's only 2 days a year where when the sun is in this position, it's at the same height. So it's a little bit hard at this time of day when it's going to be easy. And I'll show you my place. See this corner right here of the bricks? This place is due north of that tree. So every morning when I wake up and I'm out here, which is typically before the sun these days, I come out here and I stand in this place and I look to see what stars are above this tree, because that tells me what's at the midheaven right now. And it helps me see the chart in the moment, the chart in the sky. The chart is a map of the sky. The sky will show us the chart if we have eyes to see. This is my meridian tree. It's due south of this place, and in the northern hemisphere where I am in the Bay Area of California, the midheaven, the meridian midheaven, is always due south. So when the sun moves from that place up here, I know it will be solar noon. It will be exact midday. The sun here in the northern hemisphere souths at midday. And at that time, this tree will cast a shadow of a certain length, okay? Now, there's a few things I'm going to be able to do today at midday to really work with this 29-degree Aquarius sun to learn more about my 1-degree Scorpio sun. Let's turn this around again. One of them will be to work this tree, right? So that tree is going to cast a shadow that is so long, so will this bird bath. And I don't have the bird bath positioned too well right now, but I often put it in a place where it can work as a sundial. So the shortest shadow of the day is the solar noon or midday shadow. And it's a very specific length for every day of the year for a standard height like this or like this. Maybe the tree less so because it's growing, right? But the sun will only be a certain height each year. So one thing I'll do today is I will find how far from this tree I need to stand to experience the sun, like right at the top of the tree, the star on top of the tree. Heard that one before? And at winter solstice time, which is the lowest midday sun of the year, I've got to be further back, right? But as the sun climbs in the sky on its way here through winter and then through spring to summer solstice, it's going to be higher and higher in the sky every day. Does that make sense? Right? The highest midday sun of the year is the summer solstice sun. And actually, that's when the sun begins to fall, but begins falling in earnest in autumn, which is why we call it fall. And leaves fall from trees, I know. Anyway, so as the sun gets higher and higher every day, to kind of capture the midday sun on the tree, and maybe I'll go live at that point too. Oh no, I'll be having tea with a friend. Anyway, I'll have to walk closer and closer to this tree. So there's some like distance here in the garden probably where summer solstice sun is at the top of the tree, and then winter solstice sun would have me walking very far away. And at this time, with the sun at 29 Aquarius, it's going to be at the exact same height on that tree or as it will be at my solar return when the sun is in the 1st degree of Scorpio. So that tree will cast a very certain length of shadow today, which I will be taking a break from my tea time with a friend to go photograph, I'm sure. And so I'll get to see where that tree's shadow is here on Earth, and I will make a mark and know that's like part of me, I guess. I'll then be able to work with, in the night sky, any star that is parallel to my sun, which is maybe a long story. But for those of you who speak declination and understand about parallels, that should make sense to you. Because the sun, only your Antiscion and your sun itself is on a parallel path, like literally rises in the same place. In this case, both Aquarius and Scorpio rising south of east over here and taking this path to the same midday height and then setting in the same place south of west. All right, so for the last bit, I'm gonna have to climb a chair over here because sadly we had to build this fence for the deer. Well, yeah, no, let me just come up here. All right. So this is Mount Tamalpais. This is our local grandfather. This I call Solstice Hill because if you can see the trees on top, let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, it doesn't really seem like I can. Sorts of weird things are happening here on my phone. Oh, that was my hand. Okay, I better stop trying. Anyway, you might be able to see there's some trees, the eucalyptus trees, right at the kind of right side of the ridge of the hill. That's where the December sun sets. And that's the furthest southern setting point of the sun. At the tropicos, which means turn around. The Tropic of Capricorn is the southern tropic. Solstice, the sun stops moving south, turns around at the tropicos, and then begins moving north very slowly because it stopped at the time of solstice. So very slowly the sunset every day is creeping this way until we get to really this time of year, or like the cross quarter, the 15 degree Aquarius sun. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bump on Mount Tamalpais right there. That's where the 15 Aquarius and 15 Scorpio sunsets, right? And now we're a little bit further over. The sun, from my memory, and I'm really excited to see it again this year because clouds keep actually taking the opportunity from me as if I'm not yet allowed to know or something. But I believe it's about 10 Pisces, which is Antiscion, 20 Scorpio, when the sun sets right into the peak of Mount Tam from this point of view. So there is a little notch where the sun sets today and on my birthday or solar return. And I'm going to get to mark that again this year because at my solar return in October, again, it was kind of cloudy and I wasn't able to see it. So eventually the dream is to build a deck here where we can see sunset over here as well. The sun at June solstice sets right between these eucalyptus trees here. They call it like the field goal posts. That's the summer solstice sun in the northern hemisphere, and then it will stop and turn around and cruise south until Capricorn solstice, the southern solstice, and then come back like this. This, by the way, is the Cancer glyph. Back in the day, they drew it with straight lines, not with curves, even though Cancer is a very curvy thing. Sun stops, turns around, 6 months north, stops and turns around, 6 months south. And on that southern place, we get to the equinox point, which on Mount Tam here, from our point of view, is right around there. That's like due west. And then we're into Libra, Scorpio. My 1st degree Scorpio sun sets about right there, and I will be shown today. And then we get into Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. It's like this, see? So keeping a horizon calendar is a really powerful experience. And obviously we are very blessed to be living in a place now for the last couple of years where, clouds allowing, we can see sunset every day of the year. You know, it's interesting. Anna and I stay in this room here. It's the only window that's facing east. It's really facing northeast. And there's a house there you can probably see. So we don't ever see sunrise. But it's pretty cool. Anna is Scorpio as well, Scorpiana. She has her sun at 10 degrees Scorpio, and for me, the 1st degree Scorpio. So the midpoint's like 5, right? On that day, and this was confirmed to us some days ago, because the Antiscion of 5 Scorpio is 25 Aquarius. And so it was really fun. We saw how the rising sun that day just like cleared our neighbor's house. It's hard to explain unless I was upstairs and able to point that out to you, and I'm not going there right now. But we like literally live in this house where the only window facing the rising side is aligned in this way to the experience of our midpoint sunrise. It's like such a trip, right? And then Koa resides, let me show you. Actually, not in this window. That's Anna's office space in our guest room. Come visit. This is my office. Koa is on the other side of this wall. And his birthday is in July when the sun is setting over here. So he actually has the only window upstairs that's facing his sun. Like literally, if I want to go photograph the sun setting in the spring, or especially late spring or early summer, and Koa is born in he's a Cancer sun, I've got to go into his room. So like today, the moon was in Virgo and very far north of the ecliptic, so actually acting more like Cancer sun. I had to go into his room to watch moonset, you know? So like I'm ashamed to say, like I didn't map this moving into this place or something like that, but it just turns out that the way our house works, Anna and I stay in a place that in a sense is aligned to our Scorpio sun, and Koa stays in a room that's very aligned to his Cancer sun. One thing I did intentionally align is this. So let me take you out to the garden space. We aligned this garden to the cardinal directions, and therefore to the tropical zodiac, which is a directional device. We are walking due east right now. And so you can see it's designed on a square, and the cardinal directions are the diagonals here, okay? So this is Midheaven. Now, it's hard to work because of that tree, right? Only when the sun is super high at midday, which is like late spring and early summer, do we actually get shadow so we can align this thing. But it's good, you know, to align your earthly devices. Perhaps you can see the Aries glyph here, to the directions, right? This originally was like just a circle of soil, but the groundhogs demanded that we raise it up. And so I drew out and laid out this, this geometry so we could have kind of a directional device. If you're in my school of Earthstrology, check out the Build a Sundial in an Earth Wheel class, and you will see that garden bed featured. So a few ways to work with your solar return in general are wake up before the sun and see where it rises. Now, I can't do that from here at our house. We don't have a view of the eastern side. There's a place where I can sneak up and around the street up there, but usually I jump in the car and I go to the San Pablo Dam Reservoir and jump a fence and have a really beautiful view of the rising side, and a great kind of hierophany or horizon calendar I can work with over there. And I'm actually excited. I should have gone this morning, but I think maybe I'll go tomorrow morning and watch the sunrise over there. And then it will show me where the sun rises, you know, at the time of the year that I entered Earth in this go. So watching from a set location where the sun rises on the day of your birth and where the sun sets on the day of your birth. Also from a set location, how high the sun gets at midday. And for you astrologers, that means sun conjoined the midheaven. That's midday. That's halfway between sunrise and sunset. That's the height of the light for every day. And that's different every day of the year. It's the same 2 days each year, which are your solar return, and it's Antiscion, right? So the reflection around the solstice axis, it's at that time that the sun will reach the same height and therefore cast the same length of shadow. So working with the meridian calendar is a super cool way to do this, and that's too much to explain in words. Although actually it's not. Let me just show you. Let's say it's midday. It's not, because that's a really long shadow. Okay, at midday my shadow will be much shorter. But I mean, I'll call this like a December solstice shadow at midday. Then the next day the shadow is going to be a little bit shorter as the sun's getting higher and higher. The shortest midday shadow of the year is going to be summer solstice, and then it goes back. So if you have a set height, and probably at this time of life you are one, then you can just track the midday shadow every day. That's sun at the midheaven. And yeah, I mean, you get to find out like much more about your light by working with your shadow, much more about your sun by working with the earth, seeing where sun rises, where sun sets. Hopefully those will add a few practices to your Earthstrology play. See you in space.